Now, CJ, you spoke at the Global Breast Cancer Conference this year. That was our fifth annual Global Breast Cancer Conference. And you spoke about Free Your Breasts, the bra cancer link. Why?
Because it's not that well known that the link between bras and breast cancer is stronger than the link between smoking and lung cancer. And the reason why is fairly simple because where do most toxins and waste products collect in the body? In the fatty tissue. Where do we women have fatty tissue? In our breasts. Now, normally that stuff is flushed out by the lymph system. But if you are constricting that area with a bra, particularly around your underarms and where you've got a lot of lymph nodes, as well as on the breasts themselves, the longer you wear that bra, the tighter it is, the more likely you are to have issues like pain in your breasts, cysts, and you can also get tumors. And the most important book I read when I was doing the research for my second book, which was My Wild Ride, How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity. I did a ton of reading for that book. I referenced over 70 books and over 100 articles and studies. And the book that really I found the most hard hitting was one by Sydney Ross Singer, which is entitled Dressed to Kill: The Link Between Breast Cancer and Bras. And he detailed exactly all that he did. They did a very big study themselves, he and his wife. He also talked about previous studies that had shown a link. And the sad thing about this, though, is that the singers thought they would be welcomed by the breast cancer community with open arms, and that the breast cancer community would be advertising the fact that bras weren't good for you. But in fact, they were shunned. And this particular issue was I suppose blocked from public knowledge because Google it, when you Google a bra breast cancer link, the only study that comes up is a 2014 Hutchinson study, which shows no link between bras and breast cancer. But that study had no control group of women who didn't wear bras. That would be like comparing, if you're trying to find out how bad is smoking, well, you need to compare smokers with non-smokers. And equally, if you want to find out how bad bras are, you need to compare people who wear bras with people who don't wear bras. And this study didn't do that. And furthermore, they only looked at post-menopausal women in whom the effects were far weaker because of something called survivor bias. And what survivor bias is that generally anybody who might have died off earlier from having breast cancer from wearing bras wouldn't be included in the study because it only looked at post-menopausal women. But in fact, that is the only study that shows no link. All the other ones, going back to even a Harvard study from 1991, show a strong correlation between breast cancer and bras. And it's a very simple, easy, free way to reduce your breast cancer link. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. Just give up your bra. Or if you're sort of well endowed and maybe it's uncomfortable to do things like sports or be at, a business meeting if you don't wear a bra, well, limit your use. The less you wear the bra and the less tight it is, the better it is for your body. And so I'm always bringing up that link. And because I'm also a comic self-help writer as well, I do a lot of research, but in fact, comedy is a good way to make kind of difficult subjects more palatable. So I put a lot of humor in that. And I'm known in my area as the lady who throws the pink bras around because I have a load of pink bras. And at Earth Day and various festivals, I'm on stage throwing pink bras. And so I'm sort of well known for that.
Wow.
Throw away your bra. That's what I'm saying.
Usually you'll have the bra with you, right? Yeah, that's a
Well, I do. I have a load here. Here they are. Let's throw them away.
thank you so much. And such a powerful testimony. And again, we know it's not easy talking about the breast cancer journey that you went through. Thank you so much, CJ. CJ, what message do you have for an individual who was just diagnosed with breast cancer and maybe they feel like it's the end?
Well, I would always say that there is always hope. And for me, knowledge was power. I wanted to find out as much as I can because there's no one size fits all answer to breast cancer. And in fact, breast cancer, if it's early stage, first instance of breast cancer, the survival rates for that are almost 100%. That's pretty good. But that being said, if you were like me and you had a second case of breast cancer and you have the BRCA gene, then it's not quite, the statistics aren't quite as great as that. But breast cancer is not, absolutely not a death sentence. Early treatment is always way better than waiting to see what's going to happen. And it's always a good idea to research your options because the field is always changing. There is also a ton of alternative stuff out there, a lot of which you will not hear about from your doctor. So if you want to really find out the whole picture, it's probably a good idea to look at that too. For example, the Bollingers have written a lot of books, a lot of material about alternative cancer cures because it's Ty and Charlene Bollinger. They lost their parents to cancer, and it was it was horrible, and they felt that there had to be a better way. And they have investigated all kinds of different alternative treatments from around the world, and some of them do show promise. And I myself combined alternative treatments with conventional treatments. And again, another thing I would say to somebody who's recently been diagnosed with breast cancer is you will be besieged with unsolicited advice because everybody and their mother's uncle will have the solution. And if you don't do what they say, oh my God, you could die of cancer. I had that. And in fact, the first cartoon in my book, My Wild Ride, How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity, is a cartoon of all the advice I received. One of them is, the straight-laced person who's saying to you, oh, well, alternative medicine is pure quackery. You shouldn't be wasting your time on that. And then I also had some hippy-dippy friends, and those people would say, well, chemo and radiation is toxic and doesn't work. And then I had someone who I'm not going to name, but this guy was shouting at me, the reason why you got cancer is because you're too stressed and you're too tense. If you don't relax, your cancer will come back. And of course, everybody knows that it really makes you relax if somebody's shouting at you. I mean, the thing is, you can't be relaxed and happy and in a good mood all the time when you're going through cancer treatment. You will have some down moments. But, obviously it's good to be as positive as possible, but you don't want to feel bad about feeling bad. You will feel bad some of the time, but then you'll get over it. And I'll tell you, one of the keys for me for getting over that was humor, watching comedies rather than depressing dramas. I gave up watching the news, even though I was a BBC journalist and I used to watch the news all the time. Don't bother watching the news now because it's all bad news. How does that make you feel? Not great. So, those were the things I did. Humor was huge, and information, knowledge was power for me. I really made sure I did all my research, and I was pretty judicious in taking in what people told me I needed to do to get over the cancer, because really I would have needed 72 hours in the day to do all of the treatments that people said I needed to do, or I might die. Oh my God. But, all I can say is, did I do the right thing? For example, I took a controversial view. I did not have a mastectomy that was advised to me to have. After the Angelina Jolie story of her going public about having a prophylactic bilateral mastectomy because of her BRCA gene profile. A lot of the doctors were way more aggressive about promoting mastectomies rather than lumpectomies. And so I took the controversial view that I did not want to do that. And one of the reasons is breast implant illness is very real. I knew a lot of women who had had major systemic problems from breast implants, and they only managed to get over them when those implants were removed. And so to give you an example, Nicole Deruda has a Facebook support group for breast cancer implants, for breast implant illness. Nicole Deruda, I think it's called Healing with Nicole Deruda, Healing Breast Implant Illness. Well, to date, that site, I believe, has more than 190,000 members. So it is a big deal. Breast implant illness is very real, and there's even an FDA warning on those right now. So those are the things I like to bring awareness to that and make people feel that they have choices to make and that there isn't a one size fits out all answer and that they have to trust their gut, keep, try and find humor and the absurd humor in everything they can, and there is always hope.
Well, now that is very quite intriguing how you're able to intertwine humor, connect humor with everything that you went through, and it's a powerful testimony. Thank you, CJ. Now, lastly, why is it important to continue to raise awareness and educate others about both breast cancer and cancer, both topics that you mentioned today?
Because it can save lives. I don't know how many, it's very hard to quantify, but by publicizing, for example, the bra breast cancer link, most likely I have saved people from getting breast cancer. I cannot say, oh yes, I've saved 20.6 people from breast cancer from what I've said. No, I don't know. I have no idea. But I am convinced that by educating people on that issue, I have saved lives. Equally, I am convinced that by educating people about breast implant illness, I have saved a huge amount of suffering. A lot of women are choosing to go flat, for example, after mastectomies to avoid breast implants altogether. So I think it's really important, and it's really important to be educated because sometimes ignorance is bliss, but not necessarily as far as cancer is concerned.